37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
How do you set me up with that and then tell me, all right, you're on? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal. I am Sean, and this is actually episode 335. Not last time, that should have been 334.
Oops.
Any hoozle, I'm super excited about our show tonight. With me, as always, is Preston. Preston, buddy, how are you?
What's up, all you cool ghosts and goblins, you crocodoons and crocodingos, you skeletors and skelets, witchers and witches? I'm great, but I just want to say, you, mister, are a fucker. I distinctly remember last episode, you're like, so here's the thing. We're going to, the audio sounded good. And, we got all these claims against us from the UMC. And, here's the thing. We need to cut back a little bit on, the sound bites from things like the X-Files and blah, 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 blah. And you motherfucker post a little thing on Facebook tonight, like, hey, everybody, why don't you catch the episode tonight at 10:15? And then all of a sudden I hear the fucking theme music to Unsolved Mysteries. Oh, so it's perfectly okay for you to fucking be Mr. Fancy Pass and put it on there, but the minute I do the X-Files, oh, wait, well, the UMC is going to say it's chamber music. I
didn't
Fuck
say
you.
The UMC.
That's it. That's all I had.
I did not say the UMC was going to call it chamber music. So, first of all, you can do a story on Facebook or Instagram and do copywritten music for whatever reason. That's a contract. You're a son of a bitch. You can use that on Facebook and Instagram as long as the music shows up under the search, because they have a feature. You could do add music, and you could add music. And then it's totally cool to use it. It's not really breaching any contract. And if someone doesn't, copyright. And if someone doesn't want you to use it, then they can reach out to Marky Z and say, hey, take the music off of there. And they pull it off. So, yeah, that you can do. Facebook, where we potentially monetize, we can't. Don't get mad at me, baby. Don't hate the player. Because
hate the game.
You remember, Spotify did hit us with a
and fuck them for fuck them for that. Or no, that was YouTube. Fuck them for that, because that episode that they're just like, you guys were spouting off conspiracy theories. No, we were making fun of conspiracy theories all the way back from 2000. So you let that shit fly for like 4 fucking years, and now all of a sudden you're like, we're gonna have to pull that down.
Well, and the weird thing was, okay, so first of all, we got an episode pulled off of Spotify because it had Elton John's music on there. So Shayla just said, you're getting canned.
Yeah.
Spotify said, hey, unless you have the rights to that music and you can prove that you have the rights from Elton John to do Candle in the Wind, you need to remove that from the audio, then we can repost it and put you back on. That's what happened on Spotify. On YouTube, I had quoted some guy who had a really racist remark about, I can't even say it because I'm so scared to say what it was, and it was so simple because I don't want this episode to get pulled down as well. But anyhoozle, we quoted and made fun of a guy whose slogan was incredibly racist, and then we got shit canned on that episode because it said we were violating their conspiracy theory clause and spreading false information. So I can say the moon's made out of cheese, and Stanley Kubrick is the one who filmed the moon landing, and that's cool. But I can call a guy out for being racist, and they're like, hey, hold on a second. Pump your brakes. This guy probably funnels a lot of money into YouTube, so, we're going to pull that episode down. Sons of bitches. Anyway, a little old man housekeeping before we get started. Did you just do it again? So a little housekeeping up top. This year of podcasting has been very sporadic for us and kind of here and there, and we're not really finding, one night a week consistently to record. So we talked about a little bit of a reformat on the show. So I hate to say put me on record, because every time I'm like, hey, put us on record, like shit just changes.
Yeah.
So the new format of the show, nothing huge is changing. But what we're going to try to do is, again, 4 episodes a month, once a week. But we're going to have 1 episode a month, which is going to be pretty much news-centric. Just weird shit we found all month long. We're stockpiling to share with you guys once a month. 2 episodes then a month will be straight up old school Pixelated Paranormal. Throw in a little bit of catch-up news, a little bit of news, big main spooky topic, boom, Bob's your uncle. But Preston has done me a real solid. As sloppy as our Friday the 13th episode was, I really, 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 really missed the old 13 Nightmares podcast that Steven and I did with Brady that kind of spun off of this show. And we did deep dives into movies and, kind of gave little reviews and fun facts and stuff like that. So Presto brought up the idea of maybe doing that again because I mentioned how much I love doing it. So once a month, we're going to do an episode where Pixelated Paranormal goes to the picture show. And we're going to do a little spooky movie deep dive review. So I think that'll kind of take things in a new direction for us. Yeah. And we don't have to really keep on saying, well, fuck, I didn't have time to research a topic. Did you? Well, yeah, but it's not finished yet. So, all right. Cool. Let's just wing this one.
And, I like the idea because I watch, a lot of, different YouTube pages and everything about like breakdowns of movies, and then I discovered these little tidbits that I didn't know, the production, the art of it, little like one-off. So the one I shared with you about Beetlejuice, and I'm just like, holy fuck, that's amazing that they let Michael Keaton go off the rails, and then you get this one little one-liner. And so I think, look, it's a passion of mine. It's definitely more horror movie wise is more of a passion of yours. But I would love to deep dive Sam Raimi's, the Evil Dead, all the different Evil Dead franchise, Ash vs. Evil Dead, things like that, all the different little hidden gems in that TV show, which is amazing, by the way. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. It's not changing anything, but again, it's we're always we're adding new life to it, and so I'm excited for it. So
yeah, Daddy and Daddy have to spark things up in the bedroom to keep things fresh. So,
and I would go as far to say, like, look, if we do a whole news episode, classic Pixelated Paranormal, where maybe like we redo the whole like news, like radio news interviews, where we do the voices and stuff. Third episode will maybe throw out a crazy conspiracy theory topic, and then boom, to round off the month, horror movie, sci-fi movie, whatever the fuck. Yeah.
I'd love to meet you in the middle and say horror, sci-fi, whatever, just something in that vein. It doesn't have to be a horror movie every time. So hell yeah, man, that sounds like a solid plan.
And yes, Rob, my OBS is not muted, so you too. Okay. Everybody's getting the fuck you tonight.
Yeah, you didn't have audio for our last D&D game, so that kind of sucks.
Which my character doesn't really talk and communicate anyway, so it's like everybody, all you hear is yip yip, and then everybody makes shit up of what they thought I said, so it was fine. It worked out. Come on.
Yeah, good shit there. Well, on this episode, if you read the title, you're going to see it's a news-centric story. I keep promising this really cool conspiracy theory. It's going to be next episode because the episode's written. But once it got all finished up, I realized it's going to be a long one because of all the news that I put at the top that was very much centered on the topic of the next episode. A bunch of potential murders and or wrongful deaths going on in Texas. And so I put a bunch of news stories together that were about missing people, potentially missing celebrities, and a lot of other really crazy shit, murders and stuff like that. But this episode would have been huge, so I want to do the news stories up top. And like I said earlier, doing news-centered episodes will have a theme in most cases. I like to put a lot of news stories together that have kind of a theme. So tonight's theme is going to be missing people. So here we are again with another exciting news-filled episode. Tonight's topic being missing people. We've got disappearing mice, kind of. We got disappearing celebrities, sort of. And then we move on to some actual cases of people going missing. Things get weird, things get morbid, everything being pulled from recent headlines from the end of August into September. So grab a blanket, lock the door, and strap in. First of all, Presto, what's your favorite flavor?
Ooh, God, that's a tough one. I mean, I like what is it? The Thai chili, whatever that one's called, in the purple bag.
Sweet Thai chili. Interesting.
Yeah, and then classic spicy nacho, not regular nacho. It's got to be spicy nacho.
There you go. I'm a Cool Ranch guy, but my all-time favorite is spicy nacho. Well, the reason I bring up Doritos at the top here is researchers from Stanford University have managed to make the skin of laboratory mice transparent.
It tastes like Doritos?
Maybe. After they apply a solution they created using yellow number 5, a very special food dye, aka known as tartrazine. And here's a fun fact, folks. Yellow number 5 and tartrazine is a common ingredient found in Doritos. That's right, folks, those Doritos. Anyways.
What about Mountain Dew?
If it was Mountain Dew, buddy, then you'd be in hog heaven right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm the invisible man, everybody.
I know. No shit, right? Anyway, they applied the special solution they made to the tops of the heads of laboratory mice, as well as their abdomens and their hind legs. And here's what's fucking bonkers to me. This solution, when applied to mice, allowed researchers to somehow manage to turn their skin translucent, giving the scientists a clear peek like looking through a window at their blood vessels, their muscles, their actual organs, all live in real time. This all being published in a recent Journal of Science article. Now, before you start suspiciously looking at your favorite bag of Doritos, don't worry. Keep in mind that the team led by Gungsung Hong, a PhD and assistant professor of material science and engineering at Stanford, they used a much higher concentration of tartrazine than normally found in your chips. So you're not going to be able to squirt a bunch of saline into a bag of Doritos, mush it up, spread it all over yourself, and then become the invisible man. It's not quite how it works, so don't ruin a good bag of Doritos.
Yeah.
But here's what they did. Hong's team simply dissolved the dye in an aqueous solution which created a transparency-inducing lotion of sorts. It worked because the dye reduced the difference in refraction indexes between water and lipids found in the skin of the lab mice.
It rubs the lotion on its skin, never to be seen again.
Yeah, right. It rubs the lotion on the skin and shows me its spleen again. And the scientists discovered that when they soaked a slice of raw chicken in tartrazine dissolved in water, suddenly the chicken turned clear. This made this made it clear the substance could decrease how much light refraction was scattered when occurring through tissue. Then they tried it on living mice next. In order to turn the skin peekaboo, the researchers then looked for a substance that could reduce how much biological tissue refracted light. And that's when they soaked a slice of raw chicken in tartrazine, causing it to turn nearly invisible. Then they moved on to how much light they could refract when scattering light on the skin of mice. Bop, boop, bop. This more concentrated tartrazine solution did work fairly quickly on the mice during the actual experiment. Just about 5 minutes after they applied this lotion to the mice, presto changeo, they could then see the inner workings of the mice's body. The transparency wasn't permanent, though, so we're not going to have invisible mice and invisible men. Once the researchers washed off the dye from the mice's bodies simply using water, they suddenly turned solid again. And they also discovered that in doing so, there's not really any significant toxic effects for the mice. Transparency lotion needed just a few minutes to start working when applied to the mouse's skin. Massaged into shaven scalps and other body parts, it let the scientists see cerebral blood vessels with laser speckle contrast imaging, a technique that normally requires the removal of a full scalp in order to work. When applied to the mice's abdomen, it made all the internal organs visible. The liver, the bladder, and small intestine all could be seen by the naked eye. All that was needed to reverse the effect of the skin opaque lotion is just washing it off with simple water.
So do you think that's really what the Predator used to become invisible? Like that's all
Yes.
it was. It's just like
in the Seth Rogen remake, that's what it did. It just grabs a bag of Doritos, crunches it up, and rubs it over his body. Oh, fucking awesome. But I mean, again, imagine, all jokes aside, what this could do for, the medical industry when we have to do all sorts of weird stuff like remove scalps, cut people open, do all kinds of surgeries to diagnose medical conditions underneath the skin. If there's a way to make it almost invisible or at least transparent, think of how much we could save people in trauma and actual, blood loss and accidents and all that kind of stuff. We can just rub this cream on somebody and all of a sudden, boom, we just open up their stomach like a window.
Yeah, look, you want to get a clearer picture if you're pregnant, like rub the lotion on your belly and then boom.
Oh, God. Ew, that's also kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's also very creepy. In theory, such a mechanism could hold human skin just as translucent as mice. Cut out the puns, and you don't have to worry about simply rubbing Doritos all over your body. Yeah, that's fantastic news, man. Very, very interesting stuff. Makes me think of Hollow Man with Christian Slater. No, that was part 2. Kevin Bacon was Hollow Man number 1. Yeah, man. Well, moving on to celebrity news. Alicia Silverstone, that's right, folks, the girl from Clueless, recently sparked heavy concern after eating what fans believe to be a poison berry on a TikTok video posted at the end of August. She said during the video, "I've discovered something and I can't figure out what it is, and I need your help." Then she shows this weird little tomato-looking berry in her camera. She thought it was just simply a cherry tomato. She said, "I bit into it because it was on the street, testing whether or not it was a tomato." Then she said, "Oh, it's definitely not a tomato because the leaves don't resemble any plant that I've seen. Additionally, the mystery fruit was grown on a bush." And some viewers instantly chime in, "Hold on a second, tomatoes grow on vines, not on bushes." But anyway, the movie star showed her followers the inside of the fruit was filled with tiny little seeds, and she admitted that she didn't think she was supposed to eat said berry. Then she goes on to say it tastes almost like a pepper, and she chews on it for a little while and says, "Does anybody know what this is? I need someone to tell me." Then she ends the video by saying that she stumbled upon this red-yellow berry while in a trip to England. And then she seemingly disappears. All the people commenting were saying stuff like, "OMG, no, this is a Jerusalem cherry. It's a very poisonous fruit. It's actually in the nightshade family." And I mean, you can imagine the chaos that ensues, right? And then she is gone from her social media for like well over 24 hours. People are freaking out. People reached out to her publicist. They reached out to her agent trying to figure out, if Alicia's okay. Well, Jerusalem cherries are also known as Solanum pseudocapiscum, which is a harmful berry and can cause a person to experience symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, drowsiness, hallucinations. Your heart rate can, experience higher rates of beating, causing a lot of cardiac problems, and is commonly found in the northern area of New England. Suddenly, she finally comes back on after about 24 hours, saying, "I'm alive and well, don't worry. I didn't swallow it." So apparently she stuck the thing in her mouth, chewed on it, and spit it out off camera.
No. That quote says, "I didn't swallow." Not it.
Thanks.
I didn't swallow.
I didn't swallow.
That a girl.
That
a girl.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
now we're getting canceled.
Yeah. Anyway, we were on our way to our Colorado trip last month whenever we saw this, and it was kind of fun because we kind of kept checking in to see if there was any kind of updates. But yeah, there for a second, people thought Alicia Silverstone had eaten a poisonous berry and then just fucking died shortly after ending her TikTok video. Yoicks. Well, speaking of dying, folks, it's about time we drop a disclaimer on this episode. Things from this point on are about to get pretty morbid, gory, and downright bizarre. and potentially gut-wrenching for some of these stories. So a quick trigger warning and our condolences as well to the families and victims of those mentioned in these stories. First off, in Carmichael, California, a missing woman's body was recently discovered after a rehab care center called Dignity Health had told the parents of the victim that the person in question had checked herself out of patient care against medical advice. Family members of a 31-year-old Sacramento woman who died after seeking treatment at a hospital said they spent nearly a year searching for their loved one when her body was actually being kept in cold storage at the rehab center. Jessie Marie Peterson's family alleges in a new lawsuit that Dignity Health never contacted them after Peterson died while in the care of Mercy San Juan medical staff in 2023. Instead, the family says that they were wrongfully told Peterson had been discharged from the hospital. Her mother said, "I've absolutely no faith in the hospital and the way they cared for patients. They lost all of that from me." It wasn't until a year after Peterson's death that a sheriff detective informed the family the woman's body had been found at the hospital, and Dignity Health never apologized to the family for the entire ordeal, according to the lawsuit. "All I could think about was her lying on the side of a river, decomposing all by herself, when all along she was in a freezer in some storage facility. It was pretty devastating," said her mother. The lawsuit says the hospital advertises treating all people with dignity and respect, and in this case, there was no dignity or respect given to Peterson. Peterson's mother and sisters filed the lawsuit in Sacramento County Superior Court on August 7th. The lawsuit demands that more than $5 million in damages and a jury trial alleging negligence for mishandling of a corpse and causing emotional distress, along with a violation of California's health and safety code. Dignity Health replied that we extend our deepest sympathies to the family during the difficult time. We're unable, however, to comment on a pending litigation. A graduate of Roseville High School who attended Sierra College, the same one that Peterson had lived, a graduate of Roseville High School who attended Sierra College said Peterson had lived with type 1 diabetes since the age of 10. Her mother described Peterson as bubbly and energetic. She loved people, she loved to share, and she loved her sisters. Her mother said she was regularly treated at Mercy San Juan Medical Center in Sacramento. After being admitted to the hospital on April 6, 2023, because of a diabetic episode, she died 2 days later, according to court documents. According to a timeline in the lawsuit, Peterson had called her mother around 2:50 p.m. on April 8, 2023, asking to be picked up because she said she was going to leave the hospital. "She wanted me to come get her," said her mother. "She wanted to leave the hospital, but I told her she was in the best place to get the best care that she needed, and she should stay put." Peterson was pronounced dead at 4:27 p.m. that day. Her mom said she called the hospital on April 11, 2023, asking to speak to her daughter, but was told that she discharged herself against medical advice. They said they didn't have anybody there by that name, and I asked them to double check because I saw her just a week before and spoke to her on the telephone. I spelled her name for them, and the man on the phone said, "Well, we don't have anybody here by that name." The lawsuit alleges the hospital transferred the body to a cold storage facility on April 9th, the day after she passed, and didn't issue a death certificate until April 4th, 2024, 361 days after she passed away. The lawsuit says the death certificate should have been issued within 15 hours of her death. He was bound and required by California law to issue a death certificate within 15 hours and to contact the family and next of kin. But he did neither. So the death certificate that we have, he didn't complete. Instead of 15 hours, he completed it 360 days after, said Mark Greenberg, the family's attorney. The family's efforts to locate Peterson included filling a missing persons report with Sacramento County Sheriff's Office and posting her information on a Department of Justice website for missing persons. The family also checked in with the county coroner to ask about the missing person. A detective eventually called a family member on April 12th of 2024 to say her body had finally been found, and they later learned it had been in one of the Mercy San Juan's off-site storage facilities for a year. At this point, Jesse's body was so decomposed that an open casket funeral was no longer feasible, and her fingerprints were not even obtainable for any keepsake. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, capital WTF. Well, as these things oftentimes do, man, be it the algorithm or whatever, Shayla found another story very similar. In North Miami, Florida, a family is demanding answers after a 71-year-old man recovering from a stroke was found dead at a Florida rehabilitation center more than 1 week after they were told he had checked himself out of the facility. The body of 71-year-old Ellen Eaton, or ETNA, was found Monday morning in a storage room at North Dade Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, according to North Miami Police. He was identified by the wristband that had his name on it. We thought that he went missing. We never expected him to be dead in a nursing home, said the victim's granddaughter, Ruth Keisha Etienne. The 71-year-old was admitted to the rehab center on August 14th. He had been recovering from a stroke, and his family said that he was also diagnosed with dementia. The family says they received a call on August 22nd that he had left the facility, prompting them to file, again, a missing persons report with local police. Now, they said that he signed himself out, but he doesn't have the capacity to sign himself out, said one of his relatives. Days later, a check of Ellen's room at the facility showed his belongings were still there. Then, an anonymous staff member at the rehab center contacted the family on the following Monday and told them the 71-year-old's body was found deceased in another room. The family says the facility's administrators are now refusing to speak to them, so they're stuck in waiting to find out exactly how Ellen had passed away. The entire family's here, and there's been no answers. They fear the 71-year-old went days without food and water or his medication. It's horrifying because that means he died alone, suffering. The heartbroken family is now stressing the importance of checking on your loved ones in rehab centers. This rehab center said in a statement Tuesday that it will cooperate with law enforcement and its state regulatory partners as the situation is investigated. Our thoughts and condolences go out to the family members affected by this devastating events. Man, accidents happen, right? But fuck, like, I'm really tired of these canned responses from these places when there's such gross negligence, man. According to police, the rehab center said that Ellen was not diagnosed with dementia, but his family disputes the claim. Fuck, man.
All right, you finish this next story. I'm about to piss my pants, and I gotta go get another drink. So I'm gonna step out. Don't worry, folks. Unlike Sean, I actually have pants on, so you won't see my boxers.
That's my secret. No, that's okay. You go potty. I'm telling you, man, you got to keep an empty 2-liter for stuff like this.
I know. I just need to mute the mic, unzip, and go.
No shit. It's all right, man. So while Preston ducks out, this is a story I wanted to mention because the disappearances of these people, only to be found, a year later in some cases, reminded me of the story of the grocery store worker who vanished 10 years ago. Well, gosh, at this point, about 15 years ago. Anyway, you'll know the story. This is from 2019. The body of a no-frills supermarket employee who went missing back in 2009 had recently been discovered behind one of the store's coolers. In January 2019, workers who were removing coolers and shelves at the former grocery store in Council Bluff, Iowa, discovered the remains of Larry Eli Murillo Moncada was behind the cooler they removed. Now, the store had been closed for 3 years when contractors uncovered the body. The autopsy found that there were no signs of trauma, and the case is being ruled as an accidental death. But according to Council Bluff Police Captain Todd Weedham, investigators used Murillo Moncada's parents' DNA to confirm the identity of the remains. They also found the clothing had matched what Murillo Moncada had been wearing at the time of his disappearance. So if we rewind all the way back to November 2009, Murillo Moncada's parents had reported that their then 25-year-old son had gone missing after he became upset and ran out of the house during a snowstorm. Police Sergeant Brandon Danielson told the Des Moines Register that he left with no shoes, no socks, no keys, or no car. Weedham said the parents believed he'd been acting irrationally because of medications he was currently taking. Investigators believe after he ran away, that he decided to go to the storage area of the supermarket and climbed on top one of the coolers. Weedham said that employees would occasionally perch up on top the cooler units whenever they wanted to take an unofficial break. In a police statement, investigators believe that Murillo Moncada had fallen behind the cooler, somehow fitting between about a 45-centimeter gap between the back of the cooler and the wall. Murillo Moncada wasn't scheduled to work that day, so fellow employees had no idea he was there, and nobody was looking for him. So any cries for help most likely went unanswered because the noise from the cooler most likely would have covered up the sound of his voice because of how loud those cooler compressors would have been. So anything he would have tried to do to get anybody's attention would have been muffled or completely cut off. Danielson told CNN affiliate KETV that this was one of the more unusual cases the department had ever dealt with. You don't hear about these kind of cases. People found in walls, he said. We have a missing persons case all the time, but this one is just unique. So it's really, really, really unfortunate what had happened. But yeah, he was unfortunately pinned between a cooler and a wall. And, I'm sure went unconscious from blood flow or, eventually starved to death, sadly. But fuck, man, it's just really, really gut-wrenching. Well, Presto's not back yet, so what do we do to pass the time? My golly. How long do you think it takes that guy to take a leak? I don't know myself. I've never really timed him. But I can tell you a fun fact about yours truly. One time, after running an obstacle course race, I actually took a piss that lasted 1 minute 54 seconds. And if you're curious how long that is, take your phone out, hit the timer, and watch that bad boy. And let that ticker go all the way to 1 minute 54 seconds. Amazing! I just told the story of how one time I peed for 1 minute and 54 seconds and you just got back.
Dude, I said I said I had to go get another drink as well. So it's not like I was just up there like, two more shakes and you're playing with it. I had to go get a drink,
No, you're fine, man. I actually just kind of recounted that story we talked about a few years ago about the kid who went missing and was found deceased, and his body was pinned between the cooler and the back wall of the supermarket. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, sad shit. Well, hey, since you left, I got to leave because apparently my TV's screensaver just kicked on, and I hear really weird noises of ambient music and beaches, so I'm going to see if I can get out from under this desk here without flashing my undies on screen. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. That means I got to figure out a story to tell. All right, children, it's story time. What do you want to hear about? Comment down below. Anything?
Too hot for TV.
Yeah. Well, that was quick.
Yep. Yeah, the Xbox must have shut off, and then the TV turns on this like nature scape screensaver with weird music. So,
well, Matt, my day was long, boring. That's about it.
Hell yeah. Where's Matt at? Is he on Instagram? Where's he hollering at?
Twitch.
Twitch. Cool. What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
He says he can actually see the video this time around. So like, I guess Twitch fixed itself. So.
Well, let me scroll back here to where I was. This is great TV. Just a second. I am an old man. Almost there. Just a second. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're back, Preston. So let's kick things up a little bit and get a little ways out of the morbid territory here. A worker on an office hiking retreat to a national forest in Colorado had to be rescued after 14 of his colleagues allegedly left him stranded on a 14,230-foot mountain. In what might cause some awkward encounters at the office in the upcoming days and weeks, one member of their party was left to complete his final summit push all by himself. The team-building expedition went horribly wrong on Friday in Mount Shavano in the central Colorado San Isabel National Forest. Initial reports to our communications center indicated a group of 15 hikers on an office retreat had left the Blanks Cabin trailhead at sunrise that morning, with a group completing the summit attempts and a separate group ascending to the saddle area and returning from there. While 14 employees made it down the mountain safely, rescue officials said that one person got left behind to complete the summit push by themselves. Rule number one, folks. Rule number one, folks, you don't fucking hike by yourself. You don't mountain climb by yourself. You always take a buddy. Anyway, the lone employee made it to the summit at around 11:30 a.m., but when he tried to descend, he became disoriented. Making matters worse, his colleagues descended the mountain ahead of him, inexplicably collecting belongings left in the boulder field to mark the path down. In his initial attempts to descend, he found himself in a steep boulder area and scree field on the northeast slopes towards Shavano Lake. The man whose name and company were not released used his cell phone pin to drop his location from his workers, who informed him that he was on the wrong route, instructing him how to hike back up the summit to get down the correct trail. Just before 4 p.m. local time on Friday, he sent another location pin to his colleagues that he was near the correct trail. Shortly after the message, a strong storm passed through the area with freezing rain and high winds, and he again became very disoriented, losing his cell phone signal as well. When his colleagues didn't hear from him, they reported him missing to Chaffee County Search and Rescue at 9 p.m., some 8.5 hours after he started his descent. A search was immediately launched, but rescue teams on the ground encountered freezing rain and high winds that hammered their hike to the Mount Shavano summit. The foul weather also made a difficult operation of search and rescue teams using drones in the area as well. While an aerial search continued, a rescue helicopter flew several search patterns over the area where the lost hiker's pin dropped his last location, but found no sign of the man either. But again, he was dressed in all black, so he may have just, been camouflaged. Rescue teams continued to search for the man into Saturday morning and summoned another team from across the region for their help as well. The lost hiker regained enough cell phone service Saturday morning to call 911 and reported his location, enabling rescuers to find him in a gully near a drainage creek. They extracted him and took him to a hospital where he's now in stable condition. He reported being very disoriented on his descent and falling 20 times going down the steep slope. And he was unable to get up after his last fall. Can you imagine, dude, just laying there thinking like this really could be it? Fuck that. This hiker was phenomenally lucky to have regained cell service when he did and still have enough consciousness and wherewithal to call 911. And the thing on that story that really scares me, dude, is like we've talked a lot about missing 411 in the past. People get separated from parties. They go hiking by themselves, insert whatever excuse you got here, and they just disappear. And whenever you send in search and rescue teams, in a lot of these cases that David Paulides writes about, the minute you get a gigantic group to look for one person, inclement weather strikes its ugly head. You have rains, you have floods, you have snow, all sorts of crappy weather, and like these people are just gone forever, right? So, I mean, this guy got incredibly lucky. Now, in the penultimate story, this one's really fucking sad. And it's one of those stories where you ask yourself, how in the simple fuck could this happen? This is from a few weeks ago. People have already heard about it. A Wells Fargo employee at a corporate office in Arizona clocked in for what would be her final ever shift on a Friday afternoon back in August. Her body was found 4 days after her body was found 4 days after at her cubicle desk where she had died sometime during the weekend, according to Tempe, Arizona police. Denise Prudhomme, 60 years old, worked at a Wells Fargo location in Tempe and had been scanned into the building at 7 a.m. on August 16th. There were no further scans from either her going in or out of the building. On August 20th, security on site reported finding an employee possibly dead located at a cubicle on the building's third floor. Prudhomme was pronounced dead at 4:55 p.m. according to police statements. In a statement to CNN, Wells Fargo spokesman Ruben Pulido said, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of our colleague Denise Prudhomme. Our thoughts are with her and her loved ones, and are in contact to ensure they are well supported during this difficult time." Wells Fargo is reviewing the internal procedures regarding their employees' safety and wellness following Prudhomme's death. Pulido said they're also adding counselors to be available for affected employees. Wells Fargo employees shared their concerns anonymously with CNN, with some saying that while most of the office employees work remotely, Prudhomme should have been discovered much sooner because the building has round-the-clock security presence. Some employees had been reporting the smell of something foul in the air, but assumed the smell might have just been linked to faulty plumbing inside the building. Prudhomme had been sitting at her desk in a cubicle in a mostly unpopulated area of the building where she was found, according to Wells Fargo. Addressing some employees' concerns that they were not notified about Prudhomme's death sooner, Wells Fargo clarified that Prudhomme's family had to be notified first. The cause of death is still pending, but they will send her body to the Maricopa County office for the medical examiner to go ahead and do a full autopsy. The preliminary investigation didn't show any obvious signs of foul play, so they're going on to think maybe it was something natural that caused her to pass away. But again, as an epilogue to that horrible story, how the fuck? Do we blame it on corporate America? Do we insert all the nasty things we have to say about places like that? I don't know. But, above all that, that's fucking terrible, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. That's where you clock in and you weren't found for 4 days, man. Jesus Christ.
I feel kind of bad now because the stories are out of place because in the show notes, right after the missing hiker was Murder Miss Switzerland contest, so I decided to play the scary soundbite, and then all of a sudden you're like, Wells Fargo woman found dead in the office. I'm like, well, that's not scary. Now I feel like a dick.
Oh, so when you play the soundbite when we're live recording, I don't hear it, so I have no idea you did that.
Oh,
sorry, buddy. I threw in the Wells Fargo story because I forgot about it, so I just tacked it on the end. And then while we were recording, I thought, well, that makes more sense to put that after the hiking trip gone wrong. So
it's fine.
My bad, dude.
It's fine.
My bad. Well, anyway, Preston, you gave up the ghost here. Our final story is about a murdered Miss Switzerland contestant. This happened probably, I think, just a couple weeks ago, maybe a little less than that. Again, trigger warning. This thing is kind of gruesome. It's pretty fucked. The story was kind of discombobulated, so I kind of pasted it together the best I could. So bear with me. Any questions, feel free to ask. A former Miss Switzerland's finalist was allegedly murdered and dismembered by her husband, who allegedly blended her remains in a horrific attempt to conceal the crime. Mother of two, Christina Mother of two, Christina Yoksmivov. Jesus, God. Hey, look, this is on brand.
You almost got it. You almost got it. Hold on. Let me look here. Let me scroll back.
Yoksimovic.
I don't know. That doesn't sound right. I'm just saying.
Okay, that's either joke or yoke. Simovic. Let's call it Yoksimovic.
Yoksimovic.
Yoksimovic. There you go.
I like that.
Mother of two, Christina Yoksimovic, 38, was found dead in February in Benningen near Basel. Local authorities revealed that her husband, referred to in reports by the pseudonym Thomas, who was 41, was arrested the following day after her dismembered body was discovered by a third party. Investigators determined she had been strangled before the death. Now, reading that by itself sounds, shitty. Of course, it's horrible. It sounds like he just strangled her, right? Well, court records showed that Thomas confessed to the killing, claiming that he acted in self-defense, stating that Christina allegedly attacked him with a knife. However, this was incorrect. A forensic report contradicts the account, revealing evidence that the former beauty queen had been strangled. The gruesome nature of the incident came to light as it was revealed that Yoksimovic's body was allegedly dismembered in the couple's laundry room, with her husband using a jigsaw, a knife, and garden shears. Her family first grew concerned
I can barely cut down a fucking small-ass tree limb with a garden shear. How the fuck do you think if you're trying to chop up a body, the garden shears are going to work?
Yeah, I don't know, buddy. I guess in the heat of the moment, I'm not making excuses. In the heat of the moment, he must have just panicked and grabbed whatever he had that you could, make things smaller with.
That crazy lady in Russia that was
off your mic just a little.
That was chopping up people, roommates, and putting them in a blender and cooking them. She was. I'm just saying, for a criminal, she's pretty smart. This guy, not so much.
Not so smart. Well, stay with me here.
Okay.
Her family first grew concerned over her well-being after her children's nursery got in touch, claiming they hadn't heard from her. For hours, the husband pretends as nothing is wrong, chatting with her father, making dinner for everybody, before tucking the children into their beds. That's right, her family went to the house looking for her, and this guy managed to conceal what he had fucking done. After investigating the house for clues, however, the victim's father was left devastated after stumbling across a bin bag in which he could see strands of his daughter's blonde hair. When he opened the black bag, he saw her cut-off head with her hair still attached. He started screaming and ran from the property, asking for a passerby to please contact the authorities. Her husband claimed to investigators upon his arrest that he had been the one to discover the wife's body in the laundry room, after which he appealed for the release from custody. What a fucking asshole. In a terrifying, gruesome twist, the remains were then allegedly pureed using a hand blender before then being dissolved in a chemical solution. So yeah, he took a page out of that lady's book, dude. He dismembered the body using the garden shears and whatever the fuck else he had, then attempted to blend up her body into mush and dissolve it in a chemical. Thomas reportedly admitted to dismembering Christina's body in a panic after the murder. According to investigators, he displayed a conspicuously high level of criminal energy, lack of empathy, and cold-bloodedness as he attempted to cover up the crime. The case has shocked the local community and those who knew Christina. Some friends have expressed disbelief, with one person saying, "To me, they seem like the perfect family." However, another friend revealed the couple had been reportedly having some crisis for several months prior to the tragedy. One of her friends said what he did. I'm sorry. One of her friends said what he did to her. He wanted to completely eliminate her and for her to have never existed. He literally wanted her to disappear in thin air with the chemicals, and he pretended like she just left because it got too much for her, talking about the fight. So again, he tried claiming that she just left. All of us could be dead in the water, especially his She further warned that hang on a second here. She further warned that if he's released from custody, then all of us could be dead in the water, especially his children. She was the type of, her friend goes on to say she was the type of person who didn't talk badly about her marriage. So for her even to tell me what was going on in the last 12 months showed me that she was really bad. Christina, who had been from Serbia, first rose to fame in 2003 after winning the Miss Northwest Switzerland pageant. Then in 2008, she became a finalist in the Miss Switzerland competition and later trained aspiring models, including Lorna Santon, Miss Switzerland 2023. All of her friends say they will miss her very, very much. So fuck Thomas, or whatever the guy's real name is. Jesus Christ, man.
It just reminds me of all those documentaries that you see on Netflix of like where, you know, husbands murder their wife. Yep. And like they always get caught. And there's never like a good reason why they do it. Other than the fact that they just want a new life. So they're like, I'm going to eradicate my old life. And then like the Lacey Peterson documentary, if you haven't watched that on Netflix, pretty good. Like I was just blown away with like how stupid this guy portrayed, you know, how he portrayed himself and how he was like, he was the victim. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, it's bizarre. There's a new show on Max called, I think it's called How Not to Bury a Body or How Not to Get Rid of a Body. And it's a little docu-series about like the many attempts to get rid of a body that have gone wrong and people have been found doing the craziest shit. We haven't watched it yet, but it's definitely on the old list of Rooney there. So anyway, as you can see, this is why we cut the news out of the full episode, because it's like an hour's worth of news by itself. So yeah, interesting shit, man. I had one more little epilogue to tack on here that's kind of a little upswing. There was recently a story of somebody who I believe was in Mammoth Cave. And when you go to these big caves, they have signs everywhere that say, please no food or drink, no outside food or drink, blah, blah, blah. When you get into these gigantic rooms of these caves, you know, those ecosystems are so sensitive. So to bring the story all the way around back to where we started, apparently a lady was eating a bag of Cheetos and wasn't paying too much attention. And if you do take food into these places, again, very, very sensitive ecosystems, you are begged to please bring your trash with you out of the cave and throw it away in a trash can. Well, apparently a lady left a bag of Cheetos in this cave, and luckily somebody who worked the cave found it, some staff member, because in a very, very sensitive ecosystem like that, if you leave something as much as just like a Cheeto, you can throw off the whole, food chain and the whole sensitivity of this ecosystem by introducing foods and chemicals that are not found. So a lady could have tentatively ruined an entire cave ecosystem by leaving half a bag of Cheetos during a recent walking tour. Yeah, so if you take away anything from this, first of all, always check in on your loved ones who are in care centers, nursing homes, hospitals, and everything else. If it's been a little while, maybe check on them, maybe go visit. And if you're told they check themselves out against medical advice, maybe ask the director to take a fucking tour. Because holy shit, this is really, really terrible. Also, if you ever hear anything about friends or family being abused by, spouses, loved ones, so on and so forth, maybe call somebody. Maybe call the authorities. Maybe call a wellness check. You're not an asshole if you're calling the police because you're worried about your friend. And finally, I don't know, snack foods, am I right?
Yeah.
If you rub Cheetos on yourself, you might turn yourself invisible. And if you drop a bag of Cheetos at the bottom of a cave, you might fuck up an entire ecosystem.
Or, you know what? Give peace and love a chance. Don't murder people.
Yeah, no shit, man. If you're not happy in a relationship, and I mean, I shouldn't joke about this. If you're not happy in a relationship, just leave. You know, step out, file for divorce, move out. You know, do the right thing. Don't fucking attack, hurt, or kill anybody. Christ on a cracker.
And as Matt said on Twitch, tell the ones you love them, because it could be their last day.
Yeah, honestly, man. I'm a full believer in that other meme that's like, tell your friends you love them, make it weird. I always tell people I love them. I love you, Presto.
Oh,
very much.
Back at you,
right.
big guy.
Thanks, buddy. With that being said, if you're on social medias, give us a follow if you're not already. We are PXL Paranormal on Instagram. We are the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast on Facebook. I've been toying with the idea of doing a Twitch. Let's see if we can just get back on a regular recording schedule first, and maybe we will do a TikTok. Let us get on a regular recording schedule, and maybe we'll do something like that. But yeah, I'm kind of stoked about this new format we're going to be doing here, man. Shake things up a little bit, but still keep things on the rails. So
shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. I thought you were having a Zima when we first got on the call. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before you get into Dobbs, let me just mention this. He is getting ready to shake things up a little bit. Big Dobbs is doing a pretty big rebranding. So right now on his website, if you want to score the last remaining cans or bottles of his famous mint scent, you may jump on BigDobbsBeardBomb.com, because I think once his current supply of mint is out, that's it. That's all. He is retiring that scent from the catalog and working on some new ones coming up. So just food for thought, and keep your eyes peeled, because the artwork on those tins and bottles will be changing here before too long. So go ahead, buddy.
That's what I was gonna say. You sold the words right out of my mouth. So look, if you really want to mint, fresh. I think I like the way that might smell. Well, do yourself a favor. Go over to BigDobbsBeardBomb.com. Use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order, and save yourself a little bit of money on the last chance to ever put mint on your face. Smell fresh, because the rest of you probably doesn't. Get it all. Get it at Dobbs.
Gross. Did you drop the promo? I'm sorry.
Yeah. PXLPARA, 20% off your order.
You were reading that, and Shayla sent me a picture of a alien salt and pepper shaker holder. So it's like a little green man with his arms out holding, salt and pepper shakers. So it completely derailed my attention span. So if you're in the Wichita area, stop by and see our dear friend Leslie and the rest of the gang at CD Trade Post, Pawnee, and Seneca, and do yourself and maybe the community a favor. If you're a big fan of physical media, and if you're not in Wichita, wherever you are, especially Wichita, if you have little places that resell used DVDs, VHS, video games, whatever, Blu-rays, drop in and take a look around, because sadly, those kind of stores literally are dropping like flies. Wichita just closed down another CD Trade Post location here in town, so I think Leslie's store might be the only one remaining. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But if you love physical media, you definitely should go check in on places like that in your local communities, because they're very important. When you get into streaming services like Netflix and Vudu, iTunes, Google, whatever, censorship kills art, and little things are being done to change the actual media that you know and love. Something simple like I heard on Stranger Things. If you watched, the first couple years when that show first came out, I think there was a scene where one of the characters was watching another character. What's his name was watching Nancy through her bedroom window. There's no nudity, but it does, maybe promote peeping toms. And I've heard if you rewatch that show, and I'm not trying to get you to rewatch Stranger Things, but Steven was telling me that people are reporting that scene has been cut from the show.
Mm-hmm.
And if you rely on streaming services to get your media, certain things can be cut depending on who's running these networks, who thinks certain things are offensive. And I'm not telling you fucking run out and buy every copy of Serbian film. I'm just saying there are important reasons why we should still collect physical media. And that's one of them. So anytime you stream, or if you buy rights to a film like on iTunes, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody write in and tell me, you own the rights to stream the file they have in theory. So your iTunes or whatever, your Google account is attached. If they want to change that master file that you have access to watch, they can. And you could literally watch a completely different cut of a film from what you think you bought. So these places are important to keep running, places like CD Trade Post and other local media places. So yeah, stop by, give them some love, guys. Definitely give them some love.
And I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick when we talk about, like, if you think about just so audio for a second, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, we were on the tail end of when vinyl was going out, and you had cassette tapes, and then CDs started to become really popular, and that was compressed information. So when you think about everything that's being recorded at a studio level, when you go to compress that information, you're actually losing certain tones. You're not actually being able to experience what it sounded like at the time that it was being recorded, but it was a very popular format. You could, the idea that a cassette tape would wear out after a while, and you played it so many times it degraded, and a CD theoretically wouldn't do that, right? If you just kept your fucking fingerprints off of it and kept it clean, but you're missing out on information. And then now with the digital age, like, you could hardly go to anywhere that actually buy a CD. But I love that vinyl is making a resurgence, because it's something physical, it's something you can hold, something you can touch. The way that it sounds, it has a completely different sound than what when you listen to it on your phone, when you listen to like an MP3 or you listen to a CD, and the fact that that's coming back makes me happy. And then I think about the idea of a VHS. If you really love a movie, you love something like that, and you play it over and over and over again, eventually that VHS tapes deteriorates, and then it's like you no longer have that thing. So you gotta go out and you gotta collect it again. But Be Kind, Rewind. That's something this younger generation is missing out on, having to rewind a fucking tape to the beginning. And then, you know what? Like, that's something I used to look forward to because we didn't always go to the theater all the time, right? But you would rent something from Dillon's or Blockbusters, and you would pop it in, and it would have the fucking trailers right before the movie ever started. And we don't get that anymore. And little things like that, it's just like, fuck, dude, I reminisce. I miss it,
Yeah. Yeah, I think now, if you get a DVD, you still get trailers. But yeah, if you stream a film, off of your Vudu or whatever, yeah, you don't get those trailers, man. That is a lost art form. For sure. So, yeah, anyway, in the Wichita area, stop by, see paranormal.cafe and the Paranormal Experience food truck. And hot damn, buddy, we went about an hour. It's been a hot minute since we had an hour-long episode, man. So
you're welcome. Thank
good.
My bladder, because I had to go.
I know.
Stop and pee.
I know. I bookmarked that story about that unfortunate guy falling back behind that cooler for a reason. So yeah, when you went to your little tinkle break, that filled about enough time. So hell yeah. All right, I'm gonna raise this glass of what am I sucking on here? Pumpkin spice latte oatmeal stout with pumpkin and spice from Fat Orange Cat, and say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
And unlike Alicia Silverstone, he did swallow. Stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
Oh man, that one felt good, buddy.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.